We're going to start with Wycombe Wanderers. We've got 8 minutes, Kieran. I'm watching it. 8 minutes.
You've put a timer as to how much we get to talk about each subject.
Roughly.
Right.
I don't know whether we're coming or going. I mean, we're not going to go, right, that's it. You can't say anything else. It's really important. No, we're not. But we'll start with Wycombe Wanderers. Now, the first thing I looked up about Wycombe, apart from how many games we keep losing, but that takes too long, I looked up, what does WWFC mean? Okay, apart
from, you know this.
Well, I tapped in WWFC to look something up about Wycombe, and up popped loads of other things that WWFC stood for. Okay,
Wolves, I imagine, is one.
Well, Wolves, came up second. I don't know why that is. I presume because Wycombe are far more important. The second was Worldwide Fuel Charter. The next was World Wildlife Fund Canada. I thought they only had bears in Canada. And then the Woodlands Wellington Football Club in Singapore.
Of course, we all heard of that one.
But I love the last one, and this one is definitely the one that I'm going to start following rather than Wycombe Wanderers, and that is the Wonder Woman Fan Club.
Oh gosh, nice, yeah.
So we'll be following the Wonder Woman Fan Club from now on. We can change this to Wonder Woman Plus. And I don't know what that means, size.
Not sure there's enough films coming out about Wonder Woman at the moment to warrant a whole channel about it. Right. Okay. That's the only reason I can think of not to change it.
No. And of course, the other thing going on this weekend was all the rugby, of course. And all the sort of, the way the ref works on a rugby pitch, etc. And while they were sort of stopping the clock, and some of the things we've spoken about before, was, do you know, on average, how long the ball is in play in a football match?
50.
Not far wrong, 58 minutes. So you can play 30 minutes each way and just keep stopping the clock, and it'll be the same length of time. I thought that was interesting. Okay.
Whose phone is that? That's the second time it's gone off.
No idea, it's my phone, sorry.
Why did you turn it off? You're shitting there, that's the second time it's gone off. Why don't you put it on silent?
No, it's not the second time.
Well, why didn't you turn it off?
Well, I'll turn it off in a minute.
You're just going to let it ring?
Well, I thought I'd let it ring out.
All right, that's good manner.
So, Wycombe Wanderers, we drew one and lost one. We lost to Barnsley and we drew against Coventry. What did you think?
Well, we'll start with Barnsley.
Start with Barnsley.
Didn't seem to get any sort of foothold in the game, did we? From what I can tell, as per. Just a little bit outclassed. It seems a little bit. Like even our goal, really, like we could have lost, 4-0, 3-0, and you would have agreed. Like, did we really deserve a goal? Maybe not. But
I think
it's one of those games where it's not going to matter come the end of the season, or wouldn't have mattered at the beginning.
The hard work put in, not for quality, we could probably say,
Yeah. I mean, they showed their quality, didn't they? Some of their goals were really good.
They were good.
Yeah. And as for Coventry, I mean, looking at the chances they had, you wouldn't have complained if we'd lost 3-0 that game as well, to be honest.
Really? I thought Coventry looked crap.
Yeah, maybe they looked crap, but maybe they had very, very decent chances. Like a Barnsley, let's say, would have put those away pretty easily, I think.
Barnsley would have done, yeah.
But then we had a few ourselves, to be fair, but no. Yeah. But probably a 0-0 was a fair result for that in the end. Not what even team needs, quite honestly.
No, it wasn't. it didn't help Coventry or Wycombe, although especially as all the other teams in that league did all right. I'm going to actually mix the Wycombe and EFL title this time, because as we talk about these teams, it's pretty important. For instance, Coventry, I mean, all the other teams won down there, apart from Rotherham. I'm just gonna look that up, the championship and the results, because there were quite a few really biggies in there. For instance, what's the date today?
So the 22nd.
Right, because one of the big ones was Birmingham losing, who are hovering down there on the bottom, and everybody's thinking, oh my goodness, they're doing a Newcastle in our league. And everybody's thinking, ooh, they're going to keep, if they keep going, they're in trouble. And the Coventry and Wycombe obviously drew, but Rotherham went and won, you see, as did Sheffield Wednesday. Now, guess who Sheffield Wednesday beat?
I've got it right in front of me. It's Barnsley.
Now, isn't that interesting? Because we looked at Barnsley and thought, what a great team. Didn't they play well? And then they play the next worst team than Wycombe, and they lose. Now, how had it been the other way round? Had we played them after Sheffield Wednesday, we'd be thinking, well, they can't be that good, can they? And remember, they'd just won something like 11 games on the trot and then lose to Sheffield Wednesday. It's a funny old game, isn't it?
It's very funny because Moore, who's now manager of Sheffield Wednesday, you could argue it would have been the old manager bounce when you get a new manager in, but it wasn't, because they've already lost 3 and drew 1 under him.
Yeah.
So their first win was against Barnsley.
That's right.
First and 5.
And of course, Barnsley have got a little bit of a problem coming up. And that's, the number 9 up front there, the old striker, DK, who was excellent. He's their top man this season up there at the front, who is, he's like a machine, that guy. I mean, he's made for this division. Not quite sure he's made for the next division. It does remind me of our friend at West Ham up front a bit.
Antonio.
Yeah, he does. He's sort of built to, like Wycombe's player. In fact, he's built to get the ball, and he ain't going to not get the ball. He can head it, kick it, chest it down, control it. He is like your sort of compact centre forward. Be the way I describe it. He's there to finish it.
Yeah.
And he does. He scored 2 against Wycombe. They have a problem with him. He only came in the January window. Now you look at which games they've won in that nice long little list of games they've won, has actually been since he turned up. But he doesn't belong to Barnsley. He actually comes from a football team called Orlando City.
Well, America.
Yeah, and they pulled him over here. And their season is just about to start. Now, they sent him over here to warm up. Okay, so he can go back. Now he is match fit. He belongs in the MLS league, and but you can't seem to get any real concrete information about whether he's going to stay or not. There was this option to buy clause with him playing for Barnsley, but nobody really knows how much and whether Barnsley can afford it or not. So it could be, the interesting, he only actually came on the 1st of February. And if you go back on when Barnsley started winning, it was about then-ish. But he only came over because there was a nice little bit that he wouldn't have been allowed over due to regulations unless he played for the US national team. He would have had to play for the US national team to be allowed over here in the first place. And, on the 31st of January, he played for the team. He was called up to play against Trinidad and Tobago. He was a sub, and he was brought on for about 5 minutes at the end. And because of that, the next day he was allowed to join Barnsley. You don't think there was any money flying around there, do you, to let him?
Of course not. Of course not.
And that was all down to the present immigration rules. Had he not played for those 5 minutes, he wouldn't have come over. But what do they do now? If he goes back, that's the end of their run, I think.
Well, a few things you could point out. I've just had a little quick Google. The Orlando coach has said that unless something exceptional happens, then he will return from Barnsley at the time he's supposed to and start for the season. Then another odd thing is that I suppose this is Barnsley showing their intentions, but they gave him the number 10 shirt.
Right.
Like, you don't want to look too much into shirt numbers and stuff, but you don't give a number 10 shirt to a player who's going to be there for a month.
No.
You know? And so they evidently wanted to keep him. I think there's going to be a few things behind closed doors that will dictate where he goes. I don't know what he'd want to do. I imagine being in the Championship would increase his kind of football status, wouldn't it?
Well, Championship or Orlando City?
Like, yes, you'll be big in America, but that's not big in the footballing world.
Well, they
world
really
is over here.
rate him over there. He is high over there, and this whole thing was to get him match fit. But even they had a price they were prepared to accept. It's just you don't know what it is.
I wonder why they sent him to Barnsley. To be fair, no disrespect to Barnsley, but it's like if they're rating him that highly and they're putting a price on him, kind of thing. Surely you send him to maybe a club of a bit more stature, maybe even a lower league Premier League team. Don't know. Another thing with the Barnsley Sheffield Wednesday match was that Barnsley midfielder who got sent off against us had his red card rescinded.
Yeah, I had a nice person write a comment on my thing about, hey, serves you right, blah blah blah. He didn't deserve it. He got the ball, and that stuff. And I did reply saying, you need to read the FA rules, mate. It's got nothing to do whether the player ends up in a wheelchair or whether the ball goes in the goal. It's whether it was a dangerous tackle or not. And
it was.
It was. Yeah. That had the player been injured, then he wouldn't have had that changed. But that's not the rules. And I wish people would read the rules. I mean, the one you always get, but he got the ball. That irritates me. I do wish people would know the rules of the game before making comments.
It's so subjective, though, some things, to be fair. Yeah. It's so subjective, some tackles that you see, as to whether they're a red card or not.
2 feet.
Yeah.
Both feet.
2 feet and studs up, you've got to go regardless if you're nowhere near a player, quite honestly.
That one is about angles of his right foot as to whether studs up. Here we go. How about a good bit of VAR? You've got to measure the angle. Is that studs up or is that studs up? As far as I was concerned, taking his foot off.
The thing is, it is generally like that, though. I wonder if there is an angle they use to say whether it studs up or not. Because otherwise, how do you tell?
I don't know.
Otherwise, it has to be subjective otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I did think that not only should that red card have stood, but I also think our friend up front should have got a yellow card for diving.
There is that as well. Yeah.
Likewise for the penalty. I mean, I thought that was shocking. The way
Kane yesterday, if you saw that.
No, I didn't. He didn't do another.
It wasn't one of those where he goes into the back of players. He was running down the line. Player slides in to try and block the cross. Not really anywhere near Kane. Kane sticks his leg out because he's overrun the ball and gets taken out, even though he put his leg in front of his because the defender was just sliding along to block the cross. As Neville said in the commentary, he was very cute, and he knew what he was doing.
I don't like Kane. I think he's just. I know all players cheat, but he's got such. The problem is everybody thinks he's so cute and good and a great man up front, but he's a cheating git, isn't he?
He actually is. Like
And he's
in terms of
dangerous.
footballing ability, I'd take him at whichever team I supported every day of the week.
Yeah,
But he is a dickhead. Like, quite
is.
honestly, he's not.
And
He
they
doesn't seem very
he doesn't
pleasant.
get seen. He just gets seen as a white knight. But
Yeah.
I think he's awful. I mean,
Well,
he's dangerous to other players.
I suppose he
Nobody
gets.
sees it.
I suppose he gets special recognition if he's England captain. You can't get the England captain sent off, can you? I reckon that is a thing. I reckon refs have it in the back of their minds. I can't send off the England captain because, you know,
I'm not sure about
he's in
that.
bad
I
light.
think that's a bit.
I don't know.
comment.
I don't know.
Okay, so apart from down there, then, and we've got a few interesting ones at the top. Of course, Norwich drew. Watford won. Swansea lost again. What's going on with Swansea? And of course, Brentford drew with Nottingham Forest. They seem to be having a little bit of a problem there. And Bournemouth won in the cup and Reading drew. So we'll come to them in a minute. But I just want to have a quick cover of Norwich.
Whose phone is that? That's the second time it's gone off.
No idea. It's my phone. Sorry.
Why did you turn it off? You're shitting. That's the second time it's gone off. Why don't you put it on silent?
No, it's not the second
Well,
time.
why didn't you turn it off?
Well, I'll turn it off in a minute.
You're just going to let it ring?
Well, I thought I'd let it ring out.
All right, that's good manners.
Okay, because what I was thinking about Bournemouth included, you saw them get well and truly beaten by Southampton, and you think, what's the point of them going up anyway, really? You know, they'll only, I mean, they're shocking. There's no point in going up. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, I looked up Norwich and the way that they work, because Norwich have in fact been up, they've been, since the year 2000, they've been promoted 5 times. Yes, you've got it. That means they've been relegated 5 times. So in 21 years, 10 of those years have been fighting to go up and fighting to go down, and failing. So, and I'm thinking, is there a point to this? A bit like Rotherham included. And I thought, what is the point of this? I mean, do you want that to keep happening? And the way Norwich work in the background, okay, they do not have very much money. Delia Smith and her hubby owns the club. They're worth 23 million. Okay, so they don't have much money.
A lot, no.
Not a lot. Not even in the Championship is that much. Okay, but in 2016, they had the highest wage bill in the Championship. And this was when she took over, I think. And they were close to going under because they came down with a massive wage bill and they redid the club. They brought in a guy called Stuart Webber, who now runs the club, and he's only in his late 30s, and he oversees the whole thing. And what he does is he actually has this idea that, do you have a finite club or an infinite club? As in, do you go all out for today, or do you go out for a longer term? So do you win the war by shoving 2 million people in on one guy, or do we take our time and just get nobody killed and take 2 months to get the bloke? And this was the answer. They decided infinite. They would be a club and they would stand, they would represent people in Norwich, and they would stand for decent football, whatever that is. And they don't consider winning matters. So before I go to the next stage, Kieran, does winning matter?
Yes,
It does.
to an extent. Yeah.
How much? What matters at Wycombe?
It is difficult to put a point on it because you can play the most exciting, interesting football you can, and you kind of get your money's worth as a supporter. I think of a few seasons where we just were winning or losing 4-3s every week, and it was great. But you can do that for a certain period of time, but then you have to show some progress somewhere. Otherwise, people will get a bit tired and bored of playing against the same teams and being in the same league.
What about Norwich going up and down like a yo-yo? Do you think that's fun?
I don't think. I think to begin with, it may have been okay, because they're kind of in that middle ground between being a Championship and Premier League club. But you get the impression, if, as you say, Smith has only got 23 million in terms of her worth, like if they had a bit more, they could become a stapled Premier League team, which I'd imagine would be what people, or would be what the supporters want. Then saying that, you don't really get the impression that Norwich are ever going to become a top 10 Premier League team.
No.
So could you suggest that being 10th to 15th in the Premier League is better than being first or second in the Championship, but having seasons where you do get relegated in the Premier League as well?
Interesting question. You have to ask a Norwich fan for that one, I would imagine.
Because quite honestly, I wouldn't know what I'd want.
I mean, they get to see the big teams like we have this season, but it gets you down after a while, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine, like, we get promoted next season back to the Championship, and then we just go down again the same way as we did this year? It'd just be a bit like,
I'd want at least 1 year of doing well, of at least getting mid-table. I don't think I could bear going down, coming back up and going back down again. I'm not sure every year to put up with losing like we have. I think, for 1 year it's been a novelty.
It has been entertaining and has been unique, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not sure I'd want it every other year.
The problem is you can't keep winning and getting better, can you? Because at some point it does stop.
Yeah, but you see, what they've done is rather than put money in the players, they've put money into the gyms and the training areas and etc. They built the club rather than the players. So what they've done in the youth team, instead of training one youth team, they've trained two, working on the theory they'll end up with a number 9 they can keep and a number 9 they can sell. Okay, and
so they're trying to become an academy club, essentially.
Yeah. So, but they won't just move players on when anybody wants them. They look at them and decide on whether they think they've got even more they can get from them in their own team, and wait until they've reached what they consider their potential and then sell them on. They've got a guy called Max Aarons, a young fullback who they asked he was going to leave. All the clubs are coming in for him, but they still saw that he could be better and so didn't take the money this year. They may take it next year if they think he has now reached his height to then pay for next year for the club. So they're not playing this game of we must win today, and next year they won't be playing we must win today. They'll be playing the game of we must survive, we will break even, and we will keep our heads above water. And this is completely different to Brentford and Dortmund, who are very similar in that they go scouting for players just below, bring them in, keep them for a season and sell them on. Whereas Norwich we find them down this age, we build them all the way up, and when they've reached their height, then we sell them on. So there is a difference, but Dortmund and Brentford are similar, and we've seen that in Wally, what's his name?
Oh, Ollie Watkins, yeah.
Ollie Watkins. And here's your last bit of information on Ollie Watkins before we move on. And that is, did you know that if he gets a cap for England, every cap he gets up to, I don't know how many, I think it was 10, they, Aston Villa have to pay Brentford £1 million for every cap he gets. Aston Villa, that was a clause that they have to play Brentford. That's millions for them, isn't it?
Did he get in?
But there's an extra on that, and that is for every extra Brentford gets for him. When Exeter sold him to Brentford, there was a clause in there saying for anything extra on top, whatever he picks up, whatever deals you do, we get 15%.
Nice. Yeah.
So Exeter will get 15% of that million for every cap he gets for England, up to about 10 caps. Isn't that nice?
Isn't that what we did with Ibe selling him to Liverpool?
Yeah.
That we got about 1.5 or something for when he went to Bournemouth. Ollie Watkins did get called up this time round.
Yeah. They're sitting there waiting for him to come onto the pitch.
He'll come on for the last 2 minutes, won't he?
Yeah, he could get 3 over this little period, and so that's 3 million to Brentford, and the 15% of the 3 million going to Exeter. So I bet Exeter can't wait.
It's not bad. I mean, it's 4.5 million if he gets those 3 appearances, isn't it?
Yeah,
not
and
bad. 450k. Sorry, 450k.
Yeah, and when you think in that league, they're only picking up, what was it, 4 million in ours, and it was 700,000 in theirs, was it?
It's minute
for the whole season. So that ain't bad, is it? They'd be rubbing their hands together for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we stop there.
Whose phone is that? That's the second time it's gone off.
No idea, it's my phone, sorry.
Why did you turn it off? You're shitting. No, that's the second time it's gone off. Why don't you put it on silent?
No, it's not the second time.
Well, why did you turn it off?
Well, I'll turn that off in a minute.
You're just going to let it ring?
Well, I thought I'd let it ring out.
All right, that's good.
Okay. Yeah, and with my skilled bit of cutting the tape there and say that. So we move on to the next subject. So we're on 32. What we got is XG. This is going to be really quick because this, I find interesting. I think the majority of 99% of people find this really boring. But it annoyed me, this, because Match of the Day kept talking about it without actually ever explaining it. And they were just trying to come across as we know about football. But they were also taking it out of what it meant. And they were judging every player that took a shot on XG. And this really annoyed me because I thought it was unfair, because it doesn't mean how many goals. It means expected goals. But that doesn't mean they should score those expected goals. What it means, I'm going to do a really quick, this is what it means. We will then show you 3 clips of 3 goals, and Kieran will guess what they should have been, the XG, and we'll show you how wrong he is. No, that's not fair. You might get it spot on, mate.
All right,
okay.
All right.
Harry Redknapp used to make it quite simple. He thought XG was a load of crap. You stick the ball up there, and if you have better players, you will win. That is how football used to be judged. Now, how right and wrong is that, Kieran?
I'd say it's more right than wrong.
Yeah, I agree. And that means that when me and you go off to watch Wycombe, do we need these what do they call, what's it called, the one they use, the analytics, Opta. Do we need them to give us all the results for us to recognise whether Wycombe were good or bad, or whether we missed good chances?
No, but it does help to indicate how good someone has been, though.
It
doesn't give you the whole picture, but it is a good indicator.
Exactly. That's what I want to make it clear. It's an indicator. That is all. It isn't more than that. And the fact is, if we were to look at Firmino up front for Liverpool, we think he's missed a handful on a regular basis, and all that would do is prove he has. Okay? Yeah. But here we go. First of all, it's been around for ages. And all it means is when they give it a number of 0.7, it means out of 100, he would have scored 70 goals standing in that position using that foot. And they've recorded thousands of games. They look at where the player is standing, at what angle the goal is, and should he score from there? Well, 70 out of 100 have gone in from that position, so it's given a 0.7. Simple as that. What it does not record is goalkeeping talent. So now that makes a whopping difference to whether he should score or not, doesn't it?
It does.
It does. So now you're judging a player, but you could be really unfair. If I was standing in that goal, or whether you have Alisson standing in that goal, it wouldn't matter. And surely if it's 0.7 and you get 10 shots from the same place and I'm in goal, you're going to score more than if Alisson was in goal. Okay? Mm. Now, you can then move on and go to XG on target. There will be an XG on target. There will be ones that are off target. There will be passing. There will be lots of different ways of working different things out. Now, there is also a slight problem, and that is it doesn't work out where defenders are either. So if you've got an open goal with a missed goalkeeper and it's recorded so many, so that's the average. But you might end up with some decent defenders that are coming charging at you. So that's going to put you off, isn't it? That if you're standing there with nobody behind you, you stand more chance than if somebody's running at you. So I just want to make it clear, yes, it gives you an idea, but it certainly doesn't answer the question.
It's not completely accurate, is it?
No, not at all. And on the last point about that, really, and that is, if you end up with 10 goes of standing at this angle with that goalkeeper, and it works out at 0.7 10 times, it'll then add those 10 up to work out how many chances you had of scoring a goal. Now, if it's 1.0, that means you haven't missed. That's a goal. So if it gives you 10 times 0.7s, that's 7 goals you should have scored from all of your chances. But if you've got decent defenders coming at you and a decent goalkeeper, that's 7, on average, 7 goals you should have scored. Now, what happens if you're standing with the ball on the line, standing in front of it, no goalkeeper, no defenders? They're not allowed to give a 1.0, I might add. That's a 0.99.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have one chance in the game. It's a goal. It's 1-0. There's no way it's not 1-0. Whereas having 10 chances of 0.7, surely you can only measure each chance itself. You adding them together doesn't give you more chance of scoring, if you see what I mean. Surely. I mean, it sort of.
I suppose the idea is that you're supposed to, if you've got two 0.7s, the chances are you're going to score one.
Yeah.
I think that's the idea.
Yeah. But I'll definitely score one, but my chances of scoring one on XG is less.
Yeah.
So that I just wanted to make that clear, because when Lineker, Shearer or Wright talk about this, it's bland. Whereas you're better off just watching the game and enjoying it. And
I suppose it's something you could just decide for yourself whether they should score or not.
Yeah, you can measure players. I mean, I quite enjoy it, but it's not finite. It's not. We've used that word a number of times today.
You have?
Maybe I should call this the finite show. When they make comments and say he's getting in the right positions, he'll be fine, he will score, they are talking about XG. So when that's what they start talking about, he's in the right place, he will get a goal.
It's
9 times out of 10.
It's
what
somewhat
saying is 0.9.
And
that's it. And so it's simple. Now I'm going to show Kieran 3 videos, and I want him to tell me this is how this company have worked these out and what XG these goals are. First of all, Kieran, the first one, Emre Can, the overhead kick against Watford on the 1st of May 2017. Take a look at this.
Origi, Lucas. Can's made his way into the box. Well, that is a moment to savour. Emre Can has plucked one straight out of the top drawer. What a celebration with Jurgen Klopp. What a moment for Liverpool on the stroke of half-time to break the deadlock.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Wonderful piece of technique. Because Amrabat it right back for Watford. He thinks he's done his job. He sees the run, he gets himself goal. Okay,
what did you think?
Out of interest, how many decimal places have you done this to?
This is 0. It's only 1. No, 2. So 0.
0 something. I'm going to say 0.02.
No, that one was 0.08. So they reckon 8 out of 100 goals would have been scored. Do you think that's right? Because I didn't.
No, I can't. You can't. I wouldn't have said that. I suppose you don't really get in that position too often where the chance ever comes up. In terms of because he's running into the box and he's running backwards. He's running backwards and then he does the overhead kick right into that corner. I would have said it's a bit less.
Right.
You don't see it very often. But then people don't go for it very often.
But see, I would have said this is where the XG fails, because I would have said he wasn't the player to stand 8 out of 100 times doing that. There might be a player I would give a higher chance of scoring that goal. I'm not sure about him. If that was me standing there, would I have 8 out of 100 chances of scoring that goal?
No.
No. I'd have none. But actually, I don't think you can have none either, because there's always a chance. But this is, of course, where this fails. But a brilliant goal, wasn't it? Okay, next one. Goal number 2 is Andre Townsend back in 2018 in December. Off we go.
Van Aanholt has sent a real teaser in there, which Julie had to be dealt with and was by Stones. Andros Townsend! A flash of brilliance! Spectacular! And what an incredible turnaround here! It is Manchester City 1, it is Crystal Palace 2!
Well, initially it was well defended by City. It's a really good free kick from Van Aanholt into a good area. John Stones did well to get the cleaning header away, but when it broke to Andros Townsend, he won't hit a sweeter effort for the rest of this season. It's a goal fit to win any game. On the full volley, that's a world-class strike. Nothing Ederson can do about that. City just can't get out to close the ball down. But if you're Ederson, you're probably saying, go on, hit it.
Okay, what did you think to that one?
I would say the fact that he's hit on the volley must make it a bit harder. 0.05?
That's a bit closer. That was 0.01.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there you go. So you're not too far off that one. So yeah,
that's probably a bit true.
1 in 100 chance.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a number of times you'd see a player go for a volley outside the box, and yet you got 1 in 100 chance of scoring it. Wonder if it's worth. I suppose players don't really go for it now because the managers know that you're just not going to score.
But do you remember the chances of scoring from a corner, which we discussed last week?
1 in 33 or something.
It was 3%.
Yeah.
So
1 in 33.
So in fact, that first goal was 8% chance of scoring that. So that was almost 3 times more chance of scoring that goal than you have one from a corner. Right. And the last one is, it don't add up.
No.
Giroud on the 1st of January 2017 against Crystal Palace. Okay, let's have a look at this one.
Sanchez. He's come up with it. The scorpion touch. Olivier Giroud. And you saw Mkhitaryan do it. He said we'll never see it again. This is the Premier League. Inspiration, invention. Having missed it.
Okay, what do you reckon?
It's got to be as low as you can possibly go, sure. It's got to be a 0.01.
Yeah, that's your closest. It's 0. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. This is the best chance out of the lot.
No, it's not.
It's 0.12. They give it 12% chance of scoring that goal. Now you see...
I'm assuming they're not taking into account that it's a scorpion kick.
That's right. He's the one that actually gave that the title, I might add. Now you see why I think XG, all well and fine discussing it on Match of the Day, but it's a bit, they're just trying to show off. Judge it yourself, and you're probably nearer than they are.
Giroud's got probably one of the rarest you'll ever see. It just doesn't happen, does it?
No.
Yeah, they've given it 12%.
Whose phone is that? That's the second time it's gone off.
No idea, it's my phone, sorry.
Why did you turn it off? You're shitting. That's the second time it's gone off. Why don't you put it on silent?
No, it's not the second time.
Well, why did you turn it off?
Well, I'll turn it off in a minute.
You're just going to let it ring?
Well, I thought I'd let it ring out.
All right. That's...
Okay. Now we'll move on, and next topic is Europe. Okay, Kieran, Europe football. What did you reckon to European football if I just quickly start, not on any of the games, I'll just give you a bit of info. Oh, I've just pulled out the wrong bit of paper. That's buggered it. I'll never find it again. But no, I won't do that now. I was going to say I forgot to do the XG bit about the goalkeepers, but I shan't. That's boring now. Right.
I think you did mention it, to be fair.
Yeah, but I was thinking of how they measure goalkeepers on because put XG, expected goals, and they have to try and work out how many shots, how good a goalkeeper is. That's even more difficult. Serie A, broadcasting rights, all the broadcasting rights, are they all going downhill? Do you know, in France, the money they're going to pick up is 50% less broadcasting rights than they've ever had before, had from last year. So their money's going downhill. In the UK, they'll be picking up 10% less. Germany 5% less, and Italy 25% less. Sky just aren't interested like they used to be, and it looks like it could be going to a company who are going to hold quite a few of the rules, a few of the games. DAZN, DAZN. They've offered 850 million euros, but the problem is they're a streaming app.
They're originally a boxing app, primarily.
Because they're really worried over there about doing this, but they're only getting offered 750 million from Sky, and their target, what they actually want, is 1.15 billion, and they ain't getting that. So I think this is suggesting that Italian football is going downhill. And do you see how many Italian clubs are in the last quarters?
None of them.
None of them.
In either Europa League or Champions League.
No. And how many places do they hold when they go in to the European?
Are they the same? Are they the same as us?
Yeah, 5. They're 5.
Yeah, Europa League.
How? I mean, this isn't the first. It's also the first year for 16 years that Ronaldo and Messi have been missing. So I don't throw that in as a passing.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have complained about the Italian teams, let's say, 10 years ago, because you had Juventus, who were heavyweights. AC Milan obviously were heavyweights. Inter, Roma, well, I suppose they had those three, and then you'd have your Roma or Napoli, maybe a little bit more mediocre team. But AC Milan and Inter just aren't what they were. And Juventus just can't seem to do it in Europe at the moment. I mean, there was obviously the prime reason for getting Ronaldo, and that really hasn't worked out. He obviously made that awful mistake against Porto, didn't he?
He did.
It's Sunday League, that, to be honest. Bless him, probably in another scenario it wouldn't have happened and no one would have cared. But the fact is that he turned his back and it went through his legs. A free kick that went that far out.
Yeah.
The Italian teams just aren't the same anymore. It's you do wonder why.
There's no less, because if they're not picking up all that money, it's going to be even worse.
Well, the thing is that you can say AC Milan and Inter Milan aren't the same as they were. AC Milan definitely aren't even, because they lost to United pretty. I was going to say non-competitive, but they weren't. I don't think United felt too on edge during that game. The problem is that AC Milan are top of the league in Serie A, and we know that they're not what they were. Nowhere near. The only reason they're up there is because of a 39-year-old Zlatan. And so Italian football is going downhill very quickly. I mean, Juventus won't be a thing once Ronaldo leaves, because they've just pinned all their hope on him.
Well, who got knocked out? Porto beat Juventus.
Yeah.
And it was 4-4, wasn't it, on aggregate?
Yeah.
And do you know, over those two games, we've discussed the XG, so it gives you a clue. That is all I'm saying. That Porto created chances just worth 5.4 in their 6 group games. Okay, that's the lowest of all teams to reach the last 16. They only actually created 5 chances in 6 games. That was Porto. Okay, and they won. I mean, they won.
Yeah. I mean, their chances against Juventus weren't exactly great.
No. I think chronic. I tell you, who gets to play Porto?
Chelsea.
Lucky Chelsea. That's what I have to say.
Well, you have to say the Porto are the team that everyone wanted going into that draw. The thing with Chelsea is, I mean, they beat Atletico Madrid, which is very impressive. But they don't score a lot of goals, Chelsea.
Well,
Like, they beat,
isn't it? But they're not going to get a lot of goals back, are they?
No, they're not. They're not conceding any. But if you've got a team like Porto who don't score goals with a high chance of scoring, then maybe that might go against Chelsea a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you'd want Porto every day of the week. I especially wanted Porto, but we take Madrid.
Do you know? I actually ended up writing that down the wrong one, which is a bit of annoying.
Done a good job.
Right. Yeah, I'll give that a bit of miss. I was just having a look who won the most penalties in the group stage. I think that was that. Did Chelsea have many penalties? I've written that under the wrong team.
Can't remember, mate.
Right, okay.
I would have assumed it was United, to be honest, but
yeah. Okay, let's look at PSG beat Barcelona 5-2. Now PSG, I'm just going to give you a little fact for them as well. The PSG was the most fouled side in the group stage. They had 96 fouls against them. All their dives.
Well, you've got to stop Mbappe and Neymar somehow, haven't you? I suppose taking them out is the best option for a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
Can't deal with their speed and skill, I suppose.
So they dealt with it. I've just drawn on my t-shirt. So they dealt with them. I've been trying to get rid of this one for years. So they dealt with them by pulling them over. Then.
No, in terms of PSG Barcelona, I mean, Barcelona don't look like a team, do they?
Are they coming back from this?
I mean, same with Juventus with Ronaldo leaving. As soon as Messi leaves, what do they have? Might actually help them, to be fair.
I think they've got to get rid of him.
Not because we think he's a bad player or anything, but it's because it's because they put all of their focus on him. Then they don't realise that they have to build a team.
But we've done this before. Coutinho at Liverpool.
Yeah.
Liverpool only made it when they got rid of their best player. And I think that's the same with Spurs. I think that's the same with loads of teams. That if you build your team around one player, then you've got 10 not very good players and you don't have a team. You've got one good player.
It's actually a very common thing that pundits say, isn't it? They should build the team around him. But it's actually, it can go very, in the opposite direction. Like, often it's not a good thing.
No.
I mean, let's say, I was going through the Premier League teams. I think United, they build around Fernandes, essentially, or they look to him as the focal point. I suppose Liverpool at the moment, we probably look to Salah a bit. But then you think of Man City. Do they have someone that they pinpoint around? No. They never really have.
No.
I mean, the only one you can
I couldn't name you most of the Man City team.
No.
Maybe because I'm not interested and never watch them. I just can't be bothered.
No, because you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, what about then the next one? Liverpool beat
Leipzig.
I can't pronounce it.
Leipzig.
Leipzig. Right. Now, here's your little fact for that one, and that is Liverpool. In the group stage, had the most direct attacks from starting in their own half and finishing with a shot, all in 15 seconds. Okay, they had 25. Okay, 15 seconds from one after the other goal. Shot, shall I say, not goal. So Liverpool beat them 4-0. That was a walkover, wasn't it, really?
Quite peculiar walkover because Leipzig are top of the, or they were top of the German league, weren't they?
Yeah, I was expecting a
and
bit more from them.
You were expecting a bit more, especially in Liverpool's form. You're kind of thinking, oh, this is where you can really get your chance over Liverpool, but didn't show anything. Leipzig weren't worried at all watching those games.
And so they get Real Madrid, I believe, who beat Atlanta 4-1. Now, the Real Madrid averaged the most high turnovers in the attacking third, 36. There you go. There's your bit of boring.
Or facts for all of these, have you?
4-1. They beat Atlanta. Well, Atlanta were just a team to get kicked out, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, we beat them 5-0 in the group stage, and attacking-wise, they looked pretty good.
Just there to make the numbers up, weren't they?
In the end, they were, yeah. They're one of these Italian teams that have come up and done pretty decent recently in place of the Milan
in
teams.
Europe.
They did decent in Italy last season. Whether they are this season, I don't know, to be honest with you.
And how are Liverpool going to get on against Real Madrid then?
Well, this is the thing. Real Madrid are not what they once were, and neither are we. It's going to be very interesting. I don't see there's an obvious underdog or team who should go and win it. It honestly is who turns up on the day. Like, I think it's as simple as that, because the other ties, you can have your pros and cons as to who you think should win, but both teams are kind of going through a little bit of a rut. They're not what they once were due to various circumstances, and attacking wise, I don't think Madrid are fantastic at the moment, but we also have two centre backs who are very inexperienced, especially in the Champions League.
Not doing too bad though, are they?
But they're not doing too bad. The 3 clean sheets they've kept, them two being together. But in saying that, you then go up against Real Madrid. It's a little bit of a different proposition, isn't it?
It is.
But I have full hope that we can get through. I think that is our best chance of getting Europe this season, is to win the Champions League, especially because of the route we now have to the final. It's a
big ask.
It's a big ask, but it's because of how they've done the draw. It makes it a lot more interesting.
And so, how many days do we not talk to you after Liverpool have lost? If this is your dream,
probably quite a few.
About the same amount of when you lost the final.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy then, was I?
Even I remember that,
but
because of you.
Well, it's because it was the first final we'd been in goodness knows how long. The first thing we could win in an awful long time. Probably like my first as a Liverpool fan, to be honest. The first one that really mattered.
Dortmund versus Seville. Now, Dortmund scraped it. But, because they scraped it 5-4 overall, but Haaland scored 18 in 13 games in the Championship. And here's your interesting one, I think, this is a warning, in that they actually recorded in that game when they beat Seville, they actually recorded him running 60 metres in 6.64 seconds. Okay, now the world record athletes sort of, is 6.34, 60 metres. He did it in 6.64. Okay, he was 0.3 of a second behind the world record at running 60 metres. Is that a worry to defenders, do you think?
The guy's a tank, honestly. He's an absolute beast, isn't he? The thing I'll say is the only worry that Man City really have in the next round, isn't it?
It is.
Defensively, Dortmund are, as bad as anyone, quite honestly. They're not too hard to break down.
And City don't concede goals. How many goals did they just concede in the group stage? Can you remember?
I'm going to say 2. 1, yeah. Like, the they're on a different level in terms of defence at the moment. Surprising with the two centre backs they have, because you wouldn't have said that they'd be that comfortable so early on in kind of their combination. But then Haaland is Haaland at the moment, and so you're kind of thinking if there's anyone who's going to get past these, then he is the man.
Okay. We're going to leave that there. We're running out of time. We've got about 10 minutes.
Oh no!
10 minutes. And so we leave that there, and off we go to. We're going to leave England alone as well.
Whose phone is that? That's the second time it's gone off.
No idea, it's my phone, sorry.
Why did you turn it off? You're shitting. That's the second time it's gone off. Why don't you put it on silent?
No, it's not the second time.
Well, why did you turn it off?
Well, I'll turn that off in a minute.
You're just going to let it ring?
Well, I thought I'd let it ring out.
All right, that's good manners.
We come on to England next week. Okay, but we're going to just have a quick look at the FA Cup and League Cup, and FA Cup and League. If we get to the league, great. If we don't, we won't worry. And you mentioned Man United or not? No, Haaland. And of course, Man United think they're getting him next season because they always think they're getting everybody, don't they? Because of course, I bet he wants to go there. Did you see Man United's game against Leicester or not?
I have seen highlights and a few things about it. Yeah.
Right. Well, I watched it. They were walked off the pitch, Kieran. They were walked off the pitch. They got that 1-1 and they got that one goal back. And that was their first and only attack in that first half. And Leicester had gone for it and were brilliant and were so unlucky to walk off at half-time 1-0. And I thought, here we go. This will be interesting. Second half. He's got to change this at United. He's got to change the style. He's got to do something. Explain to me, why did he only bring on all his decent players at the end? Why bring them on at all? And why not play them? So cover the lot. Didn't that game count? I mean, he didn't play them in a League Cup. No, he did play them in the League Cup, but didn't play them in an FA Cup. They're not winning the league. They're not winning anything. This was their trophy. Okay. And all he's managed to do is try and get them fit, ready to go off to international football.
Well, I suppose
that's what they've got next. So why didn't he play them in the first place?
I suppose it's the confidence that you have in your players trying to, rest and rotate and give the players such as Van der Beek a chance, thinking that you're just going to go in and win the game and you won't have an issue.
Isn't that that's putting Leicester down, isn't it? It's thinking we're brilliant, you're not. We can bring on our subs and speak, isn't it?
They still played a very decent team, United, in terms of personnel they had out there. You had Van der Beek and I think he played Greenwood. Like they're all either first team or on the bench players. So he would play. How
many goals Greenwood has scored recently? Is it 1 in 26 games or something?
Yeah, he scored against Liverpool, didn't he?
And Van der Beek, they play out of position. It's a different style to how he played at Ajax.
It's an unreal signing, and the way they've used him at United.
They put him down. He's never played this football before.
The quality you saw of Van der Beek in that Champions League season when Ajax got to the semis, he was unreal. He was, one of the best players in the whole tournament. And then he goes to United, and they play him like this.
They put him in a completely different role, in a completely different style of football, and say, "Go on, play." And but they do that all the time, don't they?
This is the thing. You don't get the impression that Solskjaer gives them tactics and everything when they go out. They kind of just go out and try and play some sort of football that they're kind of dictating for themselves on the pitch, or in this case, Fernandez dictates on the pitch. They had that period of time where they were winning a lot of games, didn't they? They are second. They have won a lot of games, but in the end, they're not going to win anything under Solskjaer. I don't understand why they still think they do.
No. What about the others? You got Southampton. Well, they're just there to be knocked out, aren't they? Or is that being really cruel?
More than likely, they'll be knocked out.
Then you've got Chelsea.
Man City, Leicester, and Southampton, isn't it?
So, can Chelsea knock out Manchester City?
I would have said so. I would say there's a possibility. Yeah.
Leicester knock out Man City, because it's more than likely. I mean, I put Leicester down on here a couple of weeks ago, saying they're your team to drop out for Liverpool to move up into the top four. Boy, did I get that wrong. Judging by what I saw yesterday.
Oh.
I mean, can these teams beat Manchester City? Or is this, you might as well have given them the cup before we started?
I wouldn't have said before we started, because at the beginning of the season, City weren't doing too well, were they? But they've just found some form where they're just, playing out their skin, and they seem unstoppable, don't they? The only game they've lost recently was against United, to be fair, wasn't it? They lost 2-0. But you just don't get the impression they're going to go into these games and lose. They prepare too well. They play their best team. They don't drop anyone to play your kind of reserve players. They go into it full throttle. I don't see as the other teams can have much of a chance.
You see, I always thought last year and so on with Liverpool, it was interesting to watch them because even though they kept winning, it was always a fight to win. Even so, even though they kept winning, it was down to belief and just being better, but only just had an edge. They daren't have a bad game. Whereas with Manchester City, it's just like a machine.
You get the impression they just stroll out and do their thing, and they just go and
back
win.
home. Yeah, like there's no emotion, no worry, no concern. It just happens.
They go into a game knowing they're going to win, don't they? There's no issue with that whatsoever. I mean, I suppose that helps if you've got a defence doing as well as they do, because it's almost like you have 90 minutes to score one goal and then you'll be fine. I mean, normally they go and score 4 anyway, don't they?
They do. I'm gonna. Okay, FA Cup. Who's going to win it?
City. Unless I want Leicester to win it, so our boy Iheanacho, because he scored 2 again, didn't he, against United? And we mentioned him a couple of weeks ago.
Getting a lot of help from our friend Vardy up there. He's getting well trained, and I thought he looked excellent. Do you know who was it that dropped him? Was it City or United?
Man City had him.
Yeah, I wonder whether they're worried. Do you know, out of those 4 games that we had, 3 of them were finals once. The only one that wasn't was Bournemouth versus Southampton. All the other ones had actually been a final at some point.
Really?
And then you're left with the Bournemouth Southampton that wasn't. And Bournemouth, they've had the quickest hat trick in the Championship this year, and Southampton have had the quickest championship in the Premier League.
The quickest hat trick in the Premier League.
Yeah, I just thought I'd sort of, and Leicester are the only team to win the league, but not the FA Cup.
Really?
Yeah.
They haven't won the FA Cup.
And they're the only team that have won the league, but not the FA Cup. Yeah. And also, Leicester are the one team heading toward winning more away games this season than home games.
Imagine Liverpool are probably up there as well.
And we'll be coming to an end. I wanted to talk about one other thing, but we won't now. Just to finish a couple of things off, and that is little facts and figures. Bournemouth versus Southampton, of course, finished 3-0 to Southampton. I can't see them going back up on that, or they come straight back down again. But that was the third. The other game, of course, was the Arsenal West Ham. Oh boy, I would love to talk about that, but we won't because we have run out of time. We're not going to do what we did last week. What we will say, though, is that's the third time this year that a game has finished 3-3. Name the others. And just to say, before we finish, this is your last little bit. We've had another manager go. At Preston North End, Alex Neil. So this 1 week we've had 3 managers leave. Charlton had Lee Bowyer leave, and he's gone to Birmingham, so he didn't get sacked. He left and went to Birmingham. Nigel Atkins now has gone to Charlton. Lee Bowyer left, but Alex Neil, like I say, has been sacked. So all in all, there's been 40 managers sacked so far this season. 40 this one season. Now, who do you think is favourite for the Preston North End? Do you
John Terry?
No, it's Gareth Ainsworth. He is the favourite at 5-1. Yeah. So will he take it?
I'm fairly sure.
Will he take it?
No.
No.
I think we're pretty certain he wouldn't take that. Of all the jobs he could take.
No, why Preston North End? Why?
No, you can get a better one than that in the Championship.
The one team that we thrashed and drawn and beat.
Yeah, exactly.
Why go to a lower team, Kieran? A lower team. Okay, with that, we're going to say goodbye. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've got lots and lots and lots of subjects. We've actually tried to keep within that 1 hour. It is, except for the 3 clips we're going to put in there of the XGs, but we've done pretty well there, Kieran, because we didn't talk about lots and lots I've got on my list. Good job. Right, so with that, we'll see you again next week if you can be bothered. And if you can be bothered, because of course you'll be home next week, Kieran, and you'll be in a different room to me.
Or we could just sit next to each other.
Oh no. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and see you next week. Oh, I forgot to record.